Yo, 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 yo. I'm just going to do this live. If y'all want to come in and talk, you can. If not, that's okay. So, basically, this is me kind of at least trying to attempt to backpedal a bit on some of my beliefs and just kind of. Huh? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Anyway, as I was saying, y'all see the title though. If you had power, would you give it up? And we all know the answer is no. I think this is more of the me who was a bit more edgy, who thought that, somehow the, US was going to break apart into various countries and whatnot. Numerous things wrong with that. Numerous things. Mostly due to the fact that I never brought up gangs. Gangs would rule large, vast swaths of territory in the United States. How are you doing, Temujin? I think more importantly is the United States is going to fight every single day to make sure they hold power. It's just right now, they're just lackadaisical about it. Or at least that's what it appears to be. But we've seen, of course, obviously, with this disinfo bureau or whatever they want to call it, that, of course, now has been paused, that the United States is still going to smack the hammer down. God, no, obviously, that's a short answer. Yeah. But that's the reality. How are you doing 21st century longest? But that's the reality that we live in. Is that we are stuck in a country that, we are, that the infrastructure really doesn't exist the same way as it used to. Like I say, I can agree to a point with these YouTube folks who advocate for like, smaller towns, and of course they love trains and whatnot. I mean, to a point, I can see that. Obviously, I'm used to being in a car, and that's somewhat the individualist idea. And of course, yeah, I mean, 100 plus years ago, yeah, it was the train, where more people had to take the train because they didn't have a car. But nowadays, of course, I mean, 100 plus years of various vehicles. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, that's the ironic thing about it is that most Americans nowadays they've got several clunkers that they can find. That's part of the reason why vehicles are so expensive today is because the auto industry really can't produce the same amount of vehicles. You know, and even then, people don't want to buy them because they have folks who can still repair their '07 Ford Ranger like me or whatever, right? Why do you need to? But that's the whole thing is it used to be the monopoly of trains and of like trolleys, and then it became the monopoly of cars. But of course, the car companies couldn't deliver and whatnot, but it's a matter of control, right? So that's just one example. I'm just saying that as an example. That, yeah, the car industry rules this country. Not like I say, I know lefties spend a lot of time talking about that and have tried to do like their version of urban renewal, their belief of like, yeah, it's awful what what happened 100 years ago and whatnot. Yeah, we're gonna redo these things. But I don't really think that they have a clear vision other than we just don't like cars. That just like Bikes guy. This Canadian who now lives in the Netherlands comes off as very obnoxious. He comes off as somebody who's just, I get why he doesn't like cars. I get it. Yeah, you don't want to walk through and everything else like that. Yeah, urban planning and everything. I get it. But he comes off as very arrogant. He comes off as very, just like, well, how dare they, how dare people want to consume things and whatnot. It's like, well, that's what we're programmed to do at this point. That's not to say that we don't have free will, but It happens. Things happen in the world. Things happen in your life. I'm not saying I'm defending it. I'm just saying that's what it is. You know, this is just one aspect of it. Urban planning or just this design of U.S. cities where, there's big old highways and byways and long stretches of road that go nowhere, that have very little, interest other than getting to one spot at the end of the road or something. That's typical. But, I just say that as an example. The United States is apparently going to go onto the African continent. They're going to get involved with Mogadishu, this and that. Yeah. Smaller towns are cool if stuff is close to the other. Rural living is great for numerous reasons, but convenience is not one of them. I live in a million-plus city and it's trash. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting because, that just like, not just Vice Guy was talking about, how awful Houston, Texas was in terms of, pedestrian walking and whatnot. And like I say, I mean, he's obviously much more of a lefty without calling himself a lefty. But, such is the way. Like I said, I wanted to make this to realize, like, the idea that balkanization or the idea that a civil war is going to happen is a bit ridiculous. Because the fact is that this country is going to hold on as long as it can, as hard as it can. And the fact is, as I've said before, is that the United States, people love to talk shit. Antifa folks, or, these Wignets, they love to talk shit. But when it comes to them actually going out there and really doing something, they don't want to do it. All you can do, and I'm going to be very glib and very, I'm going to be offensive. Here we go. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just going to give it to you with no chaser. But all people can do is just shoot up a school because they don't have anything else to do, because nobody really sat them down and tried to talk to them. Now, of course, another part of that is that some of those are Fed ops, but some of it is glowy shit. But that's my opinion. The fact is that this country, and I don't say this because I have some great love of everything, but it's because just when you get older, you realize the weight of this system. You realize the weight of this system, and you realize how narrow your options become. When you're young, you can get hired on, entry level job, and just go for it. When you get older, it's less and less things. For me, chances are when I get kicked to the curb eventually from this hotel job, I'm probably going to be a maintenance guy at an apartment complex. It's something that I accept at this point, and going on those late night calls and everything. I think it's going to be better at apartments because I think about 10 or 11 o'clock is when they stop doing on call, and you have to wait until the morning. So that'll be better. But anyway, that's my reality. That is my reality. And, as much as people want to say, have all these visions of the future, this and that, is that we're kind of just stuck here, in this, crumbling infrastructure, a continued sort of slump of, just kind of waiting for the penny to drop, right? And that's where we are. And you realize that, if you put yourself in their shoes, not to say that, you should sympathize with the federal government or the powers that be or whatever you want to call it, but if you had the power that they did, if you had the power to influence media, this and that, you can go ahead and put in who you want to. I'm just not going to say it. I'm not going to say any triggering words, but would you be willing to give it up? I wouldn't. If I had this sort of power, I hold on to it for as long as I can. The Romanovs wanted to hold on to power as long as they could. Power! Yeah, exactly. The power! Exactly, with the Vegeta, yeah. But that's the reality of it, right? I mean, you could say the same thing about, like the Rothschild, for example. I always bring it back to that Lord Rothschild quote where he says, you know, make whatever laws you want. As long as I control the money, I don't care what you do. There's a lot of truth to that. Go ahead and have your unions, go ahead and have your this and that, but it's, still there. Yeah, it depends. I felt there was someone I could trust. Yeah, that would be better than me. Sure. Yeah. But that's my view. Like I say, it's like when you think about it, I was watching that movie Casino, watching the end of it, of course, where you see what happens to everybody. You see Joe Pesci's character, get beaten up with baseball bats while they're still alive. They bury them alive. You see, of course, Ginger, with Sharon Stone's character dies of an overdose. And just various folks get killed. And the thing is, they try to make it seem like, oh, the mafia doesn't rule Las Vegas. It's like, it still does. It's just a different game. Did you want to go outside, little dog?
Can you let him in?
Yes, I will let him in.
And if he doesn't come in soon, can you check on him?
Yep, I will do that. I will do just that.
Sometimes he just stands up.
Need help? You got it? Okay. Yeah, bring the door up so that you can unlock it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I will let him in.
Okay.
All right.
Like I say, check on him though, because
I will.
he'll just wander stuff sometimes.
Yeah. Power for its own sake turns people into psychopaths and all around assholes. Oh, absolutely. But I just say it as a matter of, I've been thinking this for a while. It's like stuff doesn't usually just go away. People just say, oh, well, the mafia doesn't run this anymore. They don't run that anymore. They do. But it's just a different matter, That's just my opinion anyway. Elements will still exist. It's like when people want to maybe bring up this and that. I mean, things just don't go away. If you spend a lot of time to create something, it's not going to just go away. There's always going to be remnants of it. It's like there's, it's like the flak towers, the zoo flak towers in Berlin, raided by Nazi Germany. I think one of them is still there. And I think they turned into like some carbon, whichever. And the strength through joy, the sort of resort that they created on some, I can't think of what island offhand. They're actually redoing those currently, and they're going to completely, they've rebuilt them, and they're going to they're going to do for their intended purpose of being vacation spots that Robert Lay at least talked about. Feel as you want to about it. I feel like I'm just rambling at this point, but I feel like the idea of accelerationism continuing to make things worse and continuing to vote for the worst possible thing or whatever, or hoping that you can cut power lines and stuff like that, it's not going to change. The system is stronger than we think. And I think that's what happens. And you see tired old people like, for example, people like, I'm trying to think of his name now. My mind is gone. I'm sorry, folks. But you see people like Bernie Sanders, for example. You could even bring up him. And you see Michael Parenti. There we go. You see, like I said, I don't think Parenti even does interviews anymore, but Michael Parenti, who it'll get worse without you helping. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But, you see people like Michael Parenti and, you see Bernie Sanders and all this. These just old guys who just, you can tell that they've given up in many ways. I think people like Michael Parenti, even though tankies love to read his stuff and everything, the reality is that, he'll praise Cuba and everything else like that, but probably back off full of, I remember reading that article that he wrote talking about Tibet, that it wasn't some pure society or whatever. And, there was a lot of bad stuff that happened and whatnot. But of course, he doesn't praise. Yeah, I'm going. Okay. Okay. He's not in yet. Okay. Okay. Let's wrap this up. So Tibet, yeah. Basically, he wasn't going to praise everything about China, but he wasn't going to praise the Dalai Lama and everything else like that. So he was who he was, right? But I think, that's what happens. I mean, it's the same type of thing where tankies will love to simp for people like Paul Cockshot. It's like, why are you simping for some old Scottish man who, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's just cope at this point where you're going to simp for guys like that. But that's my view. At this point, I would just tell you to try and get gold and silver. We've seen, of course, crypto absolutely crater. I don't have much faith in crypto now. I know I've said otherwise, but I just wanted to appease. Hold on. Come on. Come on. Come. Hey, let's go. Come on. Come on. No. Go that way. All right. But, I needed to appease folks. I didn't really care that much necessarily. I put $10 into Bitcoin. It's not even, I think it's like half the value now. So, yep. So, I don't understand saying crypto and refuse to learn. Yeah, exactly. I hear that. Gold and silver. I don't think gold and silver will ever go out of style. If you can get, it's usually garbage unless you live in Venezuela. Yeah. And I refuse. Yeah, I hear you though. Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel at this point. It's just like, I'm not going to specifically, think that somehow, I mean, I'm going to put it this way. You see people like Destiny, for example. Destiny, at least from as far as I've heard, is basically been doing streams now for the money. He used to be more of a lefty, I think, in some ways. And of course, there was a time when he was seen as a hero to the left. But once he turned his guns on them, then suddenly it's like, oh, we don't like you anymore. And of course, people like Vosh and everything else like that hugely, dissed him and all this sort of thing. So, but at least he's honest about it. He's doing it for the money. For me, I'm just ranting and raving. This is therapy for me. This is just therapy. This is just for me to put videos out and y'all can enjoy them. And hopefully it's just sort of commiseration at this point. But that's how I feel. I think Peter Lynch's way of investing is best. Invest in what you know and rely on EG brands around the house or you use at work. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's unfortunate that Klein Tools is a private company, but yeah. There are plenty of other things, like I say. I mean, maybe Kleenex or, yeah, oh, excuse me, this is Puffs. I'm sorry. Wonder who they're owned by. But yeah, put some money in that and see how that goes. As you can tell, I'm kind of getting sleepier and kind of bloated. So I'll go ahead and wrap it up. But yep, take care, folks. Yep, absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up pretty soon. But yeah. Red Doom is a mirror image of Ben Shapiro types. They don't even give a shit about real debate, just dunking on people. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They really don't care about trying to help people, this and that. It's like, it's funny to me. And I'll say this because I saw for a brief moment Vosh talking about canvassing. God bless you all. Amen to that. I'll just finish up with this last point, but it's funny that I saw Vosh was he's going to be canvassing for various candidates in his area, this and that, and his followers need to do the same. Now, it's interesting, of course, because when that happened to Destiny, Destiny was helping this candidate, and of course that candidate had dropped out because they found out about Destiny, and of course the N-word stuff came up and all this sort of thing. So I guess he feels like that's died down enough so that now he can do it again. And I'm just like, interesting. It's interesting to think that that he's gonna try again. At least that's my view. But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this stream up. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that or got something out of it. And we'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, that's why he's got his ears fixed. Otherwise, they'd be disgusting. Would vote red out of spite. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one, Temujin. But I think that's all I got to say. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this or got some sort of something out of it, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, see you later. A goodbye.